Good tidings, all you beautiful individuals. Welcome back inside. It's League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you beauties for a little off-season, I guess you can call it. I'm not going to call it a bombshell because some of this was kind of expected. We know the LCS is entering the new format for 2025. We knew that two LCS teams would be getting the axe, whether voluntarily stepping away or Riot saying, thanks for all the good times, goodbye. But now, Mr. Travis Gafford, old reliable, saying the two LCS teams leaving are Immortals and NRG. Obviously, Immortals was the easy one, and I think everyone was expecting that, and is not surprising in the slightest.
If you've watched even a millisecond of the LCS, I think you could have come to that conclusion that Immortals would be one of the teams that would be saying goodbye to at the end of this year. You don't want to say rightfully so, because that feels so...
No, you could say it. I am rightfully so.
It feels mean and evil to say it, but I think the results, when you look at it for Immortals, there is absolutely no way that you could slice this up. This would be an organization worth holding on to, worth trying to salvage, save, in any type of way, rebound in the future LCS. This was not one of the organizations to do so. One of the worst records that we have seen since coming back into the league, 2020 to 2024, we've had them be in the bottom 10, the bottom two positions of the LCS 8 out of 10 times. They've been perennially at that very awful stage of the LCS.
And listen, let's be honest. Obviously, they have the lowest fan base. They've tried doing content, bless their hearts, but there's just not the draw. People aren't interested. And being in their position, I feel like they had an opportunity to be at the forefront of developing young talent, because we knew they've had smaller budgets than all the other big teams in the LCS who take the opportunity to grow this Tier 2. But time and time again, they're spending money importing either washed-up players or guys that weren't still at the same level that they need to be in the main regions, come over to Immortals, and unfortunately just don't get anything done. So Immortals was the obvious one to be letting go. NRG is a whole lot more surprising. I think most people had either Dignitas, or there were all these rumors of 100 Thieves potentially bowing out, but NRG, 1 year removed from winning the entire split and a top 8 finish at Worlds, ceased to exist in the LCS ecosystem.
And the massive disappointing year for NRG comes to the ultimate conclusion of not existing at the end of this year. That's the way it goes.
That's about as bad as it gets.
They do the LCS speed run, guys. They buy in, they win the LCS, they go to top 8 at Worlds, and then crash out this year. They lose, we talked about it heading into this year. We knew that they got rid of the general manager, a bunch of the coaching staff, and we ID'd in and said, look, there is success here. There still are remaining pieces of that success, but there is a question mark whether it's going to be repeatable with this group now that you are missing a lot of these key behind the scenes or bigger figures within the organization. And clearly that had an effect on the Rift product that we ended up receiving. And this is absolutely how we've stepped into the big leagues of real-time sports. My man Dokla, he's finding out about it while he's streaming. He's just like any other guy in real sports, finding out they've been traded, let go on Twitter type of thing. Well, actually, in a lot of those things, traded, at least you've still got that starting spot. You still got that job. This is not that type of one for Dokla.
Yeah, that's the difference between sports and esports. In traditional sports, you find out, oh man, I got traded. In esports, you go, oh man, my team doesn't exist anymore. This already kind of happened to Licorice heading into 2024, where he's looking for a team with 2 weeks to go because all of a sudden his team doesn't exist. But Dokla, bless his heart, my man was on his stream. He was right into Google Translate learning some Portuguese to get ready for 2025.
Oh, I love that from Dokla. And look, honestly, Dokla is one of the guys that had an incredibly rough and down year compared to what was last year, but still one of the guys that I think that you can identify and look at in the fallout of this situation that does deserve an opportunity, a chance, a look, examination, whatever type of thing from these teams that are going to be in the LCS next year that are continuing. take an opportunity to look at him, think about adding him to the roster, these type of things. I think that's going to be another situation for someone like contracts on NRG. You got to be looking at him in that situation, as well as even Palafox. If you can figure out what exactly was the issue this year, and is that changeable, is that fixable for this next year to try and get a rebound performance. FBI down in the bottom lane, I think a lot of people can find that there probably still is some value in his performance, or you can still get to a higher level again with him. Huhi, some questions whether there's still something in the tank, whether it was just about this fit never worked out, even though I think there were a lot of signs that it should have with this NRG lineup. But at the end of the day, you take the results and you take what you can from them. And I think for Huhi, it's not going to be the best look moving forward.
Yeah, and there's no way all 5 of these guys, there's just not enough spots for them in this new look LCS or Americas, especially with so many, CB LOL and LATAM players probably coming over. Immortals, even less so opportunity, I feel like, for a lot of those players. But yeah, the NRG, I mean, listen, if this team was on, their success rate was on a graph, it would be the most steep peak right down just a bubble triangle up for the incredible highs that they reached to now just not even existing. And of course, I think we all kind of forget that this is CLG. We already kind of said goodbye to CLG, but then they came back with NRG, so they lived on, had that miracle run, but now it's a farewell part 2 to what was one of the most iconic early organizations.
This is crazy. You either die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain, like a CLG, like a TSM in the LCS, sticking around and you take your exit however way it goes. And this is it for CLG. We already said goodbye to TSM, of course, and CLG of the past when NRG stepped in. But now officially that spot, those 2 spots, those 2 originals guys are out of here for the LCS. Pretty crazy when you think about that. And I think that's one of the things when I look at this NRG, the announcement of NRG being included in this, there is a twinge of disappointment. And not a personal one for me, but it is for, I know, the fans that do exist and are out there that still were CLG fans that said, you know what, I've got doubts, I've got, whatever issues with NRG from other esports, but I'm going to welcome him. I'm going to give him the chance. I'm going to back them here for CLG in the LCS. And they were rewarded with that championship, with that Worlds run, only to be met with what they knew was the poor management and organizational choices of NRG, which leads to the downfall and ultimately the catastrophic ending of the organization in the LCS.
Yeah, and very different than Immortals, because that miraculous run, they actually built up a sizable fan base combined with what was left over from CLG. So actually devastating for all the fans of NRG, the players and orgs old and new. And listen, I've seen people be like, we thought 100 Thieves might have been the squad, and they go, well, they made Worlds, maybe that changed the opinion, but this decision had to have been made much before that, which makes it even more insane that they didn't tell their players that this was going to happen. But even Dokla, again on his stream, he said he felt like there were inklings that this could happen. Some of the staff content team was getting let go in spring. That continued into summer. So there were definitely signs of it, which makes me think NRG probably knew this was coming, maybe even before the summer split happened.
They had to have known, and I think that's part of it. And as you laid out, more so whether it's you fully knew 100% confirmed type of situation, or you could see the writing on the wall, like an 80%, a 90% type of situation happening here. Maybe lead some insight into contracts, having such an emotional, such a heartfelt type of interview after things played out the way they did for NRG. That's one of the angles that you can take with it. But man, what a world that we are here with NRG on the ones out. 100 Thieves, that type of question, talking about whether it is them beating Cloud9 on the day is the difference of them wanting to stay in the LCS or not. I think that would be pretty extreme.
Can you imagine? Before the match, no pressure, guys, but if you win this series, our organization will still exist, and if you lose, we're going to be going bankrupt. But anyways, good luck. Have a great series.
I'm all in favor of a little healthy gambling, but that ain't the way to gamble the fortunes of an organization on a match like that. I think the other thing to consider for 100 Thieves that really is important is their involvement with Valorant, of course, the other Riot Games property. would be not necessarily the best partnered look if you're saying, yeah, we want out of League of Legends. We want to jettison out of here, take all of our brand, all this excitement out of here. And we're just going to stay with Valorant here. I hope you're okay with us staying in this house only. That's probably not how it's going to work out for Riot Games. So good to see that stays around. And I think, honestly, for the LCS, that is good news that 100 Thieves is sticking around. One of the true, developing, blossoming buds that we have had of an organization since franchising has started here in the LCS.
Another one that kind of snuck by is Shopify was never really in the conversation of a squad that would be leaving, but I would have been less surprised if Shopify was the one leaving other than NRG, even though I guess they've been in the LCS even shorter than NRG's stint.
Yeah, it would be a bit surprised in that type of sense for it, but at the end of the day, the results have been so bad that you could have seen an angle that maybe they want to, pull out and get out of this type of investment situation. Good to see that they're sticking around. Weren't even really in that conversation, it seems like, from Riot's perspective. They are one of the teams that I think you can look at to say, hey, do you want to add one of these guys from NRG? It's more of a different conversation and a little bit more difficult to say if you want one of the Immortals guys, because I think what we talked about with Immortals, there wasn't a lot going on. And even when you're bringing in the imports that they were, you're not importing Berserker. You're not importing Thanatos. They're getting guys with even more question marks, still unproven, all these type of things. And unfortunately, the thing that is being proven with them is that these are not the diamonds in the rough that you are looking for.
So there's still so much we don't know about what 2025 is going to look like, who's going to be taking these spots, who's the guest rotating spot that's going to be a part of the Americas. We still need all this information. Apparently, I don't remember if it was before or after the World Championship, but we're going to be getting some more information, and that's good because we have no idea what 2025 is actually going to look like.
Yeah, like the most bare bones of skeletons that this league is going to organize and arrange itself into. Zero idea on the operation and the full type of formatting and scheduling that is going to come through with this one. I think for me, the easiest and most exciting answer to the question as far as that guest team spot for the LCS, Disguised Toast. Throw him in right now. My boy is ready. We talked about this. The whole run up from him first getting partnered with the organization and getting a team involved in the NACL, that this is an extreme positive, and one that if you could involve or find ways to get into the LCS broadcast is even more of that upward trajectory for the league. That's got to be my pick for the guest spot this opening year, the inaugural year. That is the most exciting, enticing option for me. The only other one that I will entertain is also then looking at some of these other teams that we have had partnered with additional sources, these kind of celebrity backings, if you will, the Starforge, PCs joining in with Cincinnati Fear, these type of things. That's what I want to see in the guest spot for next year.
Yeah, either them or, of course, Dragonsteel, who just ran the gauntlet in the summer split. But either way, you got to have a tournament of some kind to get things like a qualifier. I hope that that's the way. It can't just be Riot randomly picking a game that has, or a team that has the bigger fan base. So still so many more details to come on that. But for now, say goodbye. Go watch your NRG highlights. Go watch... I'm not going to say Immortals highlights. Go watch the Reign over Wild Turtle era if you want to reminisce about them, because it's going to be a fully new look America's League, getting a little bit closer for 2025. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, wonderful people. Thanks for hanging out as always, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.